man. How you doing anyway, Raz? And mate, good to see you.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good, man. I'm in good health and spirits. What about you?
Uh,
The recording stuff. Okay.
Yeah, man. So be back on anyway. Today we got Ras Congo on. This is James Diboe, dedicated to original peoples as always, Just it's a good catch up from a long time. It's about this time, I think 2 years ago, actually, you were on the first season, Raz.
Yeah.
And you came on twice. You came on once with doing a solo, and then you came on with Patrick Graham also.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that we speak
Well,
about
it's
the
a pleasure
Return
to be
Project.
here. It's a
Yes,
pleasure to be here once again, bro.
definitely, definitely. So
I
what's been
respect
going
what you're
on
doing.
what's been going on with your life and that,
Well,
you know what I mean? I'm
we
sure you've
respect what you're doing.
bless,
We respect what you're doing, right?
respect,
Can you
man.
hear me okay?
I can hear you clear.
Can you? We respect what you're doing, so we always have to support you, right?
Thank you very
Because you're
much.
doing a good work. And it's all about spreading the knowledge and getting the knowledge to people. So we always have to contribute to that. It's a pleasure to be here once again, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very
So,
much. And you're the
so I'm
person
Ras Congo, Liverpool
you're
born and bred.
open-minded man, born Liverpool, but you're a
Yeah.
world traveler, living out in Africa. And not
Mm,
just that, you've been a large portion of Africa. And,
yeah.
when I have conversations with yourself, it's opens my mind and makes me think, what this brother's really been out there. Do you know what I'm saying? From
And
last time we talked.
likewise, bro.
Yeah, yeah. And you probably got that many different, because even though we look at
Well,
Africa as a
we've been
continent,
traveling for a long time. We've been
that's right.
traveling for a long time. Mm,
Yeah.
but we
I,
time.
I
But
remember
the
you saying,
greatest journey was within.
was it
You know
Jamaica
what I'm
your
saying?
first trip? Or was it?
It was Jamaica was the first time I got on a plane.
Ah,
That was
right.
when I was
Okay.
about 18,
Yeah.
1986, I think.
Wow. I
Or
was
was
out
it
there.
87? One of those times. No, it was good, bro, because like being Rasta, whether people agree with Rasta or not, I think the consciousness of the black revolutionary spirit and the respect was there for Rasta was strong then. I don't know about now. I haven't been the island for a while, but
Mm,
it was good. So the very first time I travelled, I found myself in Kingston, in a place
yeah.
called Dewaney Park, Kingston 20, right?
Mm,
And I was with a group of young guys, youths, Jamaican youths, and
okay.
I was going to dances with them and just seeing the jugglings on the corner and the life, the culture, and it really opened me up. I was 18 at the time, and I thought I like this, and I like being exposed to the culture, and
Mm,
it's the best way to learn is to have your boots on the ground, you know.
yeah. So funny enough, you say Jamaica. Some people might say, oh, because when they see a man with dreadlock, they always assume Rasta. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Your earliest times, you were on the Rasta. Were you on the Rasta movements?
yeah. Well, I've always been on the Rasta movement. You know
Yes.
what it is with me is like
Mm,
you have different houses of Rasta, and I
right.
was always I went through 12 tribes, which is like an organization,
Interesting.
Mojudo Cristo. I went through that. I went through
Okay.
another corners, and then I just realized, well, Rasta is a way of life, and
Yeah.
every man, everybody, every individual
Mm,
has a different way of expressing that. But the most important thing for me is
yeah.
not necessarily dogma or rules. It's about a
Yeah.
mystical function of the heart, and
That's
that
right.
is about reaching out and re-establishing unity because we come from a great legacy, and where we are now, we're cut off and disenchanted and disenfranchised.
Mm,
The only way we're going to get back to that is to, you know, look deep within ourselves and get back to the African roots. Because
that's right.
being cut off from the African roots and
Yeah.
carrying slave master surnames to this very day keeps us
That's right.
down. And the only way we're going to
Definitely.
rise up is to embrace the roots of the motherland. You know what I mean?
This
Yeah.
is it.
So like, although like
Mm,
I've got Rasta brethren or non-Rasta brethren, Muslim brethren, and we never really fall out over
yeah.
dogma or doctrine because really love is not a dogma and love is not a doctrine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
Of
Whoever
course.
writes the publisher, whoever writes the word or publishes it is one thing, but when you look at nature and you say to yourself, all right, then nature itself is my holy book. You
Yeah.
can have the book. I'll deal with nature, and what we observe in nature is the reality and the truth, and nothing but
Yeah.
the truth, you know? Yeah.
Because I get a lot of different things from the Rasta movement. Like I look at it and analyze it different ways, like you've said. I
Mm.
mean, you can look at it as a way of like even a Pan-Africanism. Like, is it
Mm.
the Baba Shanti? Is it that are more like Pan-Africanism? Is it,
I think basically,
or
bro,
the
you know,
Nyabingi? Is that
well, you could even have 12 tribes, people who are very African centered. Like,
okay?
all of these things don't really go into like a specific one size fits all. It's like,
Mm,
you know, you could have, um, you know, a freedom of expression. Not everybody's uniform. You can't
mm,
believe or know the same things at the same time because
yeah,
everybody is going through an evolution, a revolution,
that's
right?
right.
And I think when we all scraped the surface, most of us in the times in like the 70s and 80s, we were like more Afrocentric in terms of scraping the surface of Rastafari. It was more of an Afrocentric thing before
Okay,
it
yeah,
came down to a judo Christo or any other thing. But
yeah,
I don't necessarily want to dissect Rasta because Rasta is something that you can't really dissect. It's just everybody will express it in a different way, and
that's right.
there's no wrong and there's no right. It's just the expression, you know. But the
Because a
most
lot of
important
people
thing for
they
me,
don't even realize that dreads comes from Africa. You know,
yeah,
people see on the in chemists and see in different places. You know, even the
of course,
Hebrew Israelites, some of them had dreads. You know,
brother, locks is again. We started the conversation about nature.
yeah,
So if you have if you have hair, like, and the hair's not combed and not cut, it must form into locks.
that's
Like,
right.
the Bantu type hair will locks up quicker than like
Mm,
the Asiatic hair, but they're all
that's
going to
it.
get there at the end of the day, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
Bridget?
there it
Yeah,
is, man. Yeah,
but you know, like it is, it's an ancient, like, to say like locks is um an ancient principle among, like, say, the emerging cultures of civilization on Earth. You know what I
yeah.
mean, bro? Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, that's it. No, and
And
also as well,
Rasta
you know.
don't have a monopoly on locks. Just
Mm,
like to say that you have a lot of Rastas who don't even have locks. They might shave. You know what I mean? They
yeah.
mightn't have locks, but the Rasta, because it's not the locks that make them. It's
Mm,
their irate. You know what I mean?
that's it. Yeah,
Their
that's it.
spirituality, mentality, the actions that they do. Because you can
That's
say
right.
anything you want to. You can
Mm,
talk a bag of this and a bag of that. It's how you live.
that's right,
That's
man.
that's the mathematical equation right there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you ever go down the route of because I know you went to Ethiopia. Was you
Yeah.
living out in Ethiopia for the bit?
I was living there. I lived there for 5 years.
5 years. Wow.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
ever go down the Orthodox route or at the time, anything like that?
No, no, well, I rub shoulders with it in the same way I rub shoulders with a lot of things, but I don't necessarily participate in
Okay.
terms of to say I'm an Orthodox, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Or I'm an Ethiopian Orthodox. I'm Ethiopian and I'm Orthodox in the sense of what that word means,
Okay.
Orthodox and Ethiopian. But in terms of like the Church of the Ethiopian Orthodox, I'm not a part of it. I respect it like I respect any other church,
Yeah.
but not something that I am a part of, you know. But I don't
Yeah.
fight it, you know,
Yeah.
because yeah,
But when you went to
I've
Egypt
been
and
to a lot
also,
of those. I've been to a lot of
mm,
those early churches
yeah, that's
in
what.
Ethiopia, like on the monasteries on the island in Lake Tana. I've been
Okay.
down to Lalibela and things like that,
Lalibela.
and
Yeah.
Gondar. And I respect the people who dedicate their lives to these things.
Mm,
Uh, some of the people, then, if you might see one guy who's saying he's a priest and he's begging money, you might have
yeah.
another guy who's saying a priest and he actually overstands what he's dealing with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it would be wrong to use the beggar or the
Mm.
hustler as an example for everyone
That's right.
because
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
one size fits all. You know what I mean, bro?
That's
Yeah,
it.
man.
Yeah. Well, at the end
Yeah.
of the day, you
But
see.
Egypt, come on, talking,
Mm,
bro. Like for me, Egypt opened up my eyes. Kemet, when that
mm.
was the first place I went to in Africa, was
Okay.
Egypt. And
Yeah.
I went there and it was an eye opener on so many levels. Like I was seeing things like that I've read in surahs of the Quran or biblical books, chapters and verse that were scribed out in the walls and the temples. So that made me
Mm.
understand that it's an earlier timeline.
Yeah.
And these things that were taken from there and put in these texts, you know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
It's
Yeah.
like the hike socks, isn't it?
So the
Mm.
origin was African. Yeah. The Hyksos or Hyksos,
Yeah.
they were like the.
The
They were
Mesopotamia
like the
area came from.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, but it's
But you know,
funny
the
with the
original
Hyksos.
people of
Yeah. Because
the
when you look at the
go on, B.
Hyksos, you look at like the complexion that they look and they're not actually like white or they're not actually full. They're like a mixed group. You can't even like
Yeah.
describe the Hyksos. So Asiatic people wanted to consider them as, but they came in without all these attributes. It was when they left 150 years
Yeah.
later, they seem to have a language, a religion, a culture, you know. And
Yeah.
this is nothing new because African civilization has spread around
It's like
Asia, the
it's
world,
like
isn't
it's
it? You
like
know.
and like the original when you look at Asia, if you look at Asia, like you would know this. You look at the
Mm,
original people in Southeast Asia, Japan,
yeah,
China, India. There was African people,
very Africoid
the
looking as well.
original people.
Yeah,
If you go there, you go there now, you see people who are African looking.
yeah,
I've been to India and I
mm,
see people that look like, Rastaman and they're like sadhus, gurus, you know what
yeah,
I mean? Dark skin, you know, locks, all
mm,
of that, bro. Yeah, I've seen some Indians that are darker than some Africans
yeah.
that I've met in life.
In Sri
You know
Lanka,
what I
you
mean?
been in
And
Sri
the
Lanka,
Ethiopian.
Raz? Did you ever
No,
go to
I've
Sri
not been
Lanka?
there, bro.
I was very,
I've
very,
not been there.
went,
It's Colombo. You've been there, right?
yeah, yeah, it's just, well, I couldn't believe like a lot of people look like East Africans or even
Yeah.
like, the hair might be looser, but some have got curly hair, even,
Mm, for real, bro.
interesting service, man. And
Definitely.
then Asia, I mean, look at the size of Asia as well, you know,
I'm
and
coming.
going into even the Pacific Islands, you know what I'm saying? That people just original, just all across the globe. Find us everywhere. Even
That
if
was a little commercial, bro.
yeah,
A little commercial break, a little
that's
word
it,
from our
man.
sponsors,
Of course.
So we were
Yeah,
talking about Asia, bro.
that's it. And these you can see on the picture behind me, these are the indigenous Thailand people, the money, you know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I've got
But
to
the original
display them.
Japanese, the original Chinese,
Yeah.
all of them were African. That's why, like, when you go to India and you're looking at Buddha, or you could be in like Nepal and you're looking at these statues of Buddha. It's an
Mm,
African man.
wow. See,
You know what I
how
mean?
did
Because
you?
what you're saying
Mm,
is that you have the human race, right? Um, traversing among the four corners of the earth. And the people must go through changes because the land, the earth, surface of the earth goes through changes.
that's
You know
right.
what I mean? So the people on the earth, on the surface, must go through changes to adapt to their environment. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's just like life. It's just nature. You know what I mean? Like we say, we're coming back to nature again. You know what I mean, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
for real, man.
what do you think of the story? Because we sometimes you can go deep. Sometimes, what do you think of the story of like a lot of indigenous groups talking about a flood in ancient times?
Well, all over the world, right? They talk about floods
Yeah.
in the ancient culture. So we have to say to ourselves, a flood or a series of floods must have happened. And again, we look at nature, right? And when you read up on books on the earth changes, when you look at the changes of terrain, you look at there's mountains where the Atlantic Ocean is now. There's mountains that have been inundated with water, right?
Mm.
So there's mountains now, like in the Andes or in like the Rockies, and if you climb on top of them, you might find fossilized fish or sea life fossilized in shells. So you realize water must have been up there at some point. So
Yeah,
the earth goes through changes, and we as earthlings must go through changes too.
that's
You know what I
right.
mean? Because it's all about adapting to your environment. Now, funnily enough,
Mm.
um, what we know as Antarctica today wasn't always a frozen continent.
That's right.
Some scientists will say 12 million years ago it fell into a
Yeah,
glacial period. Or some
that's right.
others would say actually it was 12,000 years ago or 6,000 years ago. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And
that's
if you
right.
look
That.
at it, what explains an ice age to me, right? I haven't got a Harvard education or anything, but for me, it's almost like when you had an ice age over North America and Europe, that's where the North Pole must have been situated at that time.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So where the South Pole is now, it may not, it probably, because poles shift,
that's right.
just like the crust of the earth has to
Yeah,
move. You know
that's
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
With earthquakes and tectonic plates movements. You know what I mean? This
yeah.
is an amazing thing. So
Mm.
everything changes, bro. And we're the products, the people who are living today are the products of passing through these changes in the earth, you know?
Yeah. Can't,
Most definitely,
can't
bro.
mess with nature when nature attacks. I was discussing
Exactly,
today
bro.
about I was reading about the Toba eruption. Yeah, the Toba eruption that happened about 60,000 years ago, scientists say. Happened in Indonesian islands. And supposedly it would have wiped out a large population of people displaced. It might have been here as far as India. And I was thinking about it and I was thinking to myself, well, see, like with these pockets of these people, are these surviving populations also of catastrophes that have happened in the past, like, or is it they just
Well,
being took over by the Mongoloid type?
I think it's a case of many things, right? I think it's
Yeah,
like everything we've been taught in our education system is not necessarily true. We know that. And we know that
that's right.
if you look at the earth, because there's pyramids in Antarctica, there's pyramids in China, there's
Mm.
pyramids in South America, there's pyramids in Africa,
Under the
right? So
water
we
in
know that,
Japan
like,
as well.
yeah, yeah. So you know that in the ancient days, that couldn't be a coincidence. That means that there was a global consciousness, right? I'm not saying everybody in the world was conscious, but there was bases of consciousness spreading out
Mm.
to bring civilization to different parts of the world.
See,
And in those times, right, the only way you could build pyramids is to have knowledge of anti-gravitation.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because like the pyramids in Giza, right, as you know, one stone is about 2.2 tons, and there's about 2 million of these stones in the Great Pyramid. 2 million stones, right, that weigh 2.2 tons. So how could they move them? How could they get it up there in such a mathematical precision where, and even the timeline, like scientists will say, oh, the 5,000 years, they're actually a lot older,
yeah,
right? They're
that's right.
actually a lot older,
Yeah,
right? But that's the narrative of change in the origins of creation or, the birth of civilization. You know what I mean? Because
well, they
there's
tried to
things in
move
the
it to
world,
Sumer,
brother.
didn't they? you know,
Exactly.
you know,
But you see, I make no distinction between the original Sumer and Egypt. They
that's
were
right.
both probably colonies. What come first or what come after,
Yeah,
I don't know. I wasn't there. But I know
yeah.
that even in Southern Africa, where you went to South Africa recently, under the apartheid regime, there was
Mm.
many ancient structures there, just as there is in Great Zimbabwe, in a place called Masvingo, just about.
Mm.
So it's a way out of Harare and Bulawayo, and that's where the
Okay.
World Heritage Site is of Great Zimbabwe. And
Okay.
basically, when you go to Great Zimbabwe and you look at it, it's a lot older than the timeline that you offered. You offered a
Yeah,
timeline of about maybe
very late.
800 years, but it goes back
Mhm.
thousands of years, double
Yeah,
digits,
yeah. I
thousands
think
of
that was a
years.
bit too late what they said about Zimbabwe. Funny you said that. Yeah.
And they had a similar site in South Africa,
Mm,
marked as Adam's calendar, right?
mm.
And the site that they had in South Africa, they destroyed it to build a motorway, the N2,
Wow.
under the apartheid. Like lots of ancient structures were just destroyed. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because
See?
it doesn't fit in with the narrative, does it? If you're
No,
empire building, you're empire building, so you have to say we're building an empire. These people are savages, or we're bringing civilization to. So anything that anything that contradicts that lie, that sham, is a problem. So lots of
mm,
ancient structures have been destroyed. Like, the British, in Benin, right? I'm just trying to think now. Benin City was on what is now the French side of Benin, right? Because there's a Benin in Nigeria, right?
that's right.
Benin
Yeah.
City
Mm,
was a city that was the walls around that city. If you dissect the walls and compare it to the Great Wall of China, it's actually longer. The walls that were made
mm.
in that city were actually longer. But it fell into a bit of a decline. And by the time the British came, because the Portuguese were there, and by the time the British come, the British just sacked it and destroyed it.
Just destroyed the wall.
Destroyed it. Was like the walls in the city, because the streets were lined. There was drainage
Mm.
systems there. There was like communal baths. There were houses, and they just
Mm.
destroyed them.
Is there anything left of the wall?
No,
No, it's completely
not to
destroyed.
my knowledge. No,
Okay. Wow.
yeah, to my
That's
knowledge. No,
yeah, see. And like you say like, about like the Great Wall of China, you know what I mean? Probably longer.
yeah,
See.
you know what I mean.
Nah, man.
And
But
there's many things like that, because we're walking around, we still got the surnames, bro. We're still trading and living every day and operating under the name of a slave master,
that's
which
right.
technically makes us the property still. If
Yeah,
you're not the property of an individual, you're the property of a system that has you on the bottom.
that's
And
right.
if we don't wake up to that, we'll always be on the bottom. That's why when
Definitely.
anybody rises up and gets too vocal, they'll silence you. You
That's
know
right.
what I mean? That's what
Yeah.
happens all the time.
My truth,
All the time.
you
Yeah,
know, it's everything's just whitewashed though,
that's
and
great.
it's
One
just
minute, bro.
all
1 minute. Mikey, tomorrow I'm gonna sort you. I didn't reach the place, but we'll sort tomorrow. Bless,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
But you gotta go out and
So
research yourself. We
you
all
have to
go
do
through a
your own.
self-discovery, while we're growing up and that and a journey of life and
You have to do your own research, and
that's right.
not be egotistical about it. You have to share that knowledge. So that's why I respect what you're doing, because
Yeah,
to
man.
create a platform like you've done to
Yeah.
bring knowledge to a wide portion of people is a blessed thing to do. Not
Mm,
many people are really bothered with that.
yeah,
You know what I mean, bro? So for you to do that, you're taking out your ego. You got your ego under control, and you know that this knowledge is bigger than you.
that's right.
This knowledge, the only way you can bring power to the people is to share the knowledge with the people.
That's
And I
right.
respect that, my brother.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
definitely. And many good contributions haven't you many times. There's a couple of podcasts we've been on, like they say, the one with you and Patrick, one by yourself. There's another time you came home. I think it was maybe last year or last March before that. And me and you were on Chase's show, and you were
Yeah.
also on season two. And
Mm.
always interesting discussions that we have, and that especially we can touch on spirituality, history,
It's nothing in there, bro.
traveling,
Oh, shit.
everything. You know what I'm saying?
Nothing, bro.
That was an interesting one last time when you talk about you slept on a tree in Zimbabwe. It's
Yeah.
like spirituality, man. That was like, what? You know what I
You
mean?
know, it's funny because like the tree is the symbol of life, because the tree bears fruits in due season,
Yeah.
right? So for me now, as somebody that like, and you, somebody that like wants to go to parts of the world to look at the reality of the birth of civilization,
Yeah.
to have the chance to meet people, and call them indigenous, call them local, call them what you want, Africans at
Mm.
home and abroad, but to
Yeah.
be accepted and, you know, um, provided with experiences to share that you'll always remember and pass on is a beautiful thing. So when we were in Zimbabwe, that was like 94, the first time I was in Zimbabwe,
94. Wow.
1994. It was in
Wow.
South Africa. And we just went
Okay.
across to like Botswana, and we done
Yeah.
Namibia, and we done Zimbabwe. We spent like about a week in Zimbabwe, right?
Yeah.
And when I went there, 1994, it was $6 to a pound, right?
Mm.
Now, I'm not anti Mugabe, I'm not pro Mugabe, right? But
Yeah.
you see, Mugabe was I mean, the media is a powerful thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the reality of what was going on, we couldn't really use this podcast to go into that.
Yeah.
But there
Yeah.
was a lot of misrepresentation because that's the whole aim of the media, right? But
Yeah.
Mugabe and the people were making a stance, right? And the stance they were making was, you know, the land, they need the land. That's how it seemed in the media. But the
Mm.
reality was, James, that when all this was going on in the media, you know and I know that if you remove, right, a portion of small level farmers,
Yeah.
right, you're not going to get power that way because there was people in the Houses of Commons and the Houses of Lords where the families owned thousands of acres in Zimbabwe, and
Mm.
Mugabe and the veterans and ZANU PF didn't do anything to them, and it was never mentioned. You see,
Mm.
so these people still own those lands there, them big lands. In fact, I remember even a white guy, Peter Peter Van Hoogstragen, and he was like a Zimbabwean national, right?
Mm.
And he was living in Britain, right? And he was like a slum landlord in London, and a few of the people, tenants, he was like ordering his squad to beat up or whatever, yeah. And he was supposed to be making donations to ZANU PF, but it was
Mm.
almost like ZANU PF were using him as well, a strong possibility to launder money for them.
Right.
You know what I mean, bro? Yeah. So
Yeah.
a game gets played out in the media like a Punch and Judy show. Oh, the Mugabe, ZANU PF, the veterans. And you look at the veterans, and there's kids there who are 19. So how
Mm.
can you be a veteran and you're 19 and you remove and kicking off one or two hillbillies off the land, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're wrong to do that, but that is nothing. That's a piss in the ocean to what really the real power and that real power was allowed to just continue
Yeah.
quietly
See.
while a drama was played out for the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. But people got to unite. Though this is the problem with
Yeah.
Africa in itself.
Well, the
And the
biggest
diaspora,
thing is
of course.
that, James, look at it this way, right? The only way we can unite is if we learn to unite with ourselves. And if we fight our true self, our true identity, we don't want to awaken our true identity, then we can't even be in unity with ourselves. And if we're not in unity with ourselves, how
That's
can we
right,
be
man.
in unity with anyone?
That's it. It is.
You know what I mean? And
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 but
and to have unity
yeah.
to
Mm.
build an intergenerational, because we've been the victims, of an intergenerational scam. And the only way we're going to get out of it is to build intergenerational knowledge and pride and a sense of self. And the
Yeah.
only way we can do that is to go back and have a knowledge of how things was. We have to know of how the world was. We have to know our role in the world so that we realize now we're not a shoe shine and we're not like a little small time dealer. We're kings and queens and duchess and dukes and chiefs and shamans. You know what I mean? We're coming
Yeah.
from a very high order and we need to get back to that.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean? And it's
Of
not a
course.
Hollywood vibe, not a Disney vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a reality vibe,
That's right.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Of course. But you know,
Because even when you go to Africa, you meet
mm,
good people in the
that's
world,
right. Yeah,
but you can see the power structure. The power structure is set up in a way where, like crabs in a barrel, we just knock each other off instead of helping each other out of the barrel. We just knock each other off and keep ourselves in our position of having no power, of
yeah.
being powerless and hopeless, not powerful and hopeful. So this is the issue. And as a person who's been living in different African countries, right? There's I've had a lot of like good, wholesome experiences, got a good friendships, partnerships, etc., etc. But you can see that the majority of people are living like crabs in a barrel, and
That's right,
a
man.
lot of the lack of progress, it comes from an external. We know that. We know about the external ramifications, but to internalize the external and practice it on yourself and others is a very sad state of affairs, because
Yeah,
when they come for Patrice Lumumba, and when they come for Garvey, and when they come for Malcolm X, and when they come for everyone, they always send the guys that walk and talk just like the guys they want.
that's right. It is.
And there's a
Mm,
never ending supply of people willing to do that.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's right. That it is fear. You know, that's it, man.
That's why, like, when I was in Liverpool, one of the main reasons why I left was because there's pros and cons everywhere, but we only have a small black community, right? That
That's
was
right.
there at the time. And when the drugs started getting finalized
Mm,
and bigged up, it was like you could see that this is the last legs now.
right.
This is the straw on the
Yeah.
camel's back, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Um, because I remember
change.
like round about 84, they were like vigilantes,
Mm,
going into Park Road and these other areas to get rid of the smack dealers and all that. But
mm,
really, in many ways, I'm not saying in many ways for some people it was like a business opportunity.
yeah,
You
that's
know?
it. And
and
that's
when
it.
that business opportunity come, there was just death and destruction, Bridget. So like we
Be a
we
lack
we
of
left Liverpool.
was there a lot of lack of jobs as well at the time?
There
Employment's
was a
not
lot of
much.
lack of jobs, right, Joe? There was a lot of lack of jobs. And I remember because Liverpool is insanely racist, right?
Yeah.
So if to be black and get a job there was very difficult, bro. No matter
Mm,
how intelligent you was, no matter how good looking you was, it was very difficult, bro.
right.
Right? Um,
Yeah.
and like even today, I don't think it's like that much improved because when I went to the few times I've been to Liverpool and I look around, I don't see the United Nations, bro. I don't
Mm,
see I don't see a diverse community working in shops and driving buses and doing all of that. I don't see it. So that means that a lot of the people in Liverpool, black people, mixed race people, are still being marginalized in 2023.
that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And you know what though as well, it's all about because nothing is easy and not it's like everyone can't make it or whatever, but there needs to be more emphasis on education. Like, and if you look at, like, say, when Africans come over, Nigerians, they're quite strict with the children. They want them to, don't mess about, man. Even keep them in, like, go out and get a good job in the end, get your education, and it pays off in the end. But obviously, not saying people can't do it if you were born in the West or America.
No, no, you've reached a good point, bro, because like you see what we witnessed in like our lifetimes,
Yeah,
right? Now, the way our parents brought us up, and we know we had a lot of love and we got a lot of guidance and we got looked after well. And if we needed to be disciplined, we got disciplined, and that was that.
yeah,
And that discipline we were given taught us to self-discipline. Because you get one knock, you ain't gonna get another knock. So you have to modify your behavior, right? But now, when you're in the West, you've outlawed that. That's illegal now. You understand me, bro? This is a
yeah,
serious thing. So the kids are getting told in school, "Oh, if you get smacked, you can call childline.
Yeah,
Now I'm not knocking these things because there is people, right? Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
Even the people who listen to the show, I take abuse very serious. We all take abuse very serious, but you can't go from one end of the spectrum to the other, and you can't tar everybody with the same brush because it's not one size fits all. But they've
yeah,
outlawed it. They've even said so. It's like an Americanization where, like, imagine you can't even be that way. I mean, even the people in Africa are losing the discipline with,
yeah.
like, the Premier League football, the Hollywood shows, the TV, the
Oh yeah,
cable, all that, the internet.
it's drawn
So
in.
a lot of young people now, a lot of young people, it's not just in Britain, I see it in Africa too,
Yeah,
where there's, the work ethic is in danger. The work ethic is in danger. You know what I mean? And
uh,
where you don't have a strong work ethic, you don't have a good opportunity to produce that. You're looking at criminality and in some cases just survival. You know what I mean? So a lot of people
yeah,
just put themselves, because they've been put in this situation, desperate people do desperate things and they end up putting themselves in high risk situations. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Some people will learn to become entrepreneurs. They'll say, well, hold on a minute, I haven't got a job no more. I'll make my own job. If they're around the right people, good people,
yeah,
like-minded people, and they'll set up something, bro. Because I remember this, like, even if you just offer any menial service, there'll be somebody that's willing to take it. If it makes sense and you do a good job, you can make your own jobs, because the way the world is going, a lot of these jobs that you see that people have, they'll be gone and it will be all automated. It will be done by robots and AI. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And if you're scratching your balls looking for a job, there won't be no job. You have to
Exactly.
make your own job.
Mm,
And
it
this is
is.
where this is why I rate you and what you're doing. Because even though people who have been amongst you, and I'm not going to give out any names, but people have been amongst you, they've not seen the true talent and the true vision and mission that you have
Yeah,
by doing this thing in life.
yeah.
But you see what you're doing, you need to push it and you need to get connected. You need to try your best to get connected with
Mm,
alternative media sources that
yeah,
can, you know what I mean, help you because you're helping them. You know what I
that's it.
mean, bro? I'm
Yeah,
serious because your thing's global. All you need is certain connections to make it really get out there. You know what I
because
mean?
because what an interesting thing is, because I was actually thinking about it where before I had the show or anything like that, the original Discovering. Before that, I was always doing interviews when I was traveling places with indigenous peoples, Maasai's, and all different
Mm.
peoples and that. So I was already kind of prepared for interviewing people, but it's totally different doing it obviously as the podcast show. But basically trying to get information, me and educating myself,
Yeah,
and also looking like, well, where do I relate as well? For example,
yeah,
I look at like, well, there's Nigerian, and then I could be over in East Africa, and this is where they started to understand about the Bantu spreading also, even though you've got other groups of
mm,
Africans. But all Africans, we just want people as anyway, I mean, Khoisan, and but some might be
yeah,
more related to others, but
yeah,
same with languages, all goes back to one language, you know.
yeah, man.
So,
I
it's
mean, like,
all
if you look at
disconnected
the
these days.
vowels,
Yeah.
you're the vowels, like oo, e, ah, oo, that the vowels, right?
Mm,
I mean, monkey make them noise there. So it's you know what I mean?
mm,
Monkey had those original vowels, and
wow.
you look at the way the birds communicate and sing in the morning, it's not it's communication, it's a vibration,
That's
you
right.
know what I mean? Now
Yeah.
I feel connected to the bird. I feel connected to the birds. I feel connected to all that because we're all part of one big cycle. We all
That's
come
right.
from the same egg of
Yeah.
creation. You know what I mean, bro? Yeah, 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 yeah. So I feel connected, and we now, like the original Africa, was more a part of that nature. I'm
Yeah,
not saying we didn't have wars. Of course, you have wars. You have some groups of people that will be very aggressive, more so
yeah,
than others, and there'll be
yeah.
conquering going on. I'm not saying what I'm saying is that we were more connected, right? In nature, we observed nature, we
Mm.
lived with nature. Like most of these principles are dying out. You know what I mean? We should be like, if anyone's got a garden, grow something in it. We have to learn to work with nature because we come from that soil. We're a product of that soil. We were given birth. So the modern living thing of like, not knowing how to grow food, going to the supermarket, getting everything in plastic packages. You know what I mean, brother?
Nothing fresh.
This is
Yeah,
nothing's going to be fresh. There's no connection. But if you think about it, right, like before, and Europeans have been going into Africa long before Christopher Columbus,
that's it.
and Africans have been going into Europe long before even like Julius Caesar. You know what I
That's
mean?
right. Yeah.
So, so this we've been given a version of events in a timeline, and those versions are wrong, and the timeline's wrong. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
I mean, we were more connected with nature, bro. Right? We were more at one, at one with the cosmos. Like you've met the Dogon. The Dogon have spoke to you about,
That was
the star
actually
systems, the
no,
normal.
no. I didn't actually beat the Dogon. That was actually it was the Messiah
Or was it when you
in
was when
Kenya.
you was somewhere and you brought a mask?
Okay, I was in Gambia, sorry, and I bought a
Right.
mask. But what it was, he was selling a mask. A couple of the people in hotels, but
Mm,
I did like the mask, but what the one I was searching for was the Dogon mask. And
yeah.
then he said to me, he's very surprised. He said, James, how do you know about the Dogon? So then he's ordered the Dogon. So what he's done, he's actually took me to one of the
Mm,
markets and he said, I'm going
yeah.
to find you a great, one of the best Dogons. So he took me into
Nice.
the different areas, but he was
Yeah,
surprised
man.
that I knew about the Dogon. So he
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
take me to go and get the Dogon. He's saying there's
yeah.
about 5 Dogon
So
masks or more they've got or something.
masters, bro. So these masters, right?
Mm,
They're coming from a time where they've been still been blessed to have that knowledge imparted on them. But they're
yeah.
coming from a time where not only did they know the nature in the locality,
Mm,
they knew the nature far out as well, right? And they knew the nature in the cosmos, bro.
that's right.
You understand?
Yeah.
The cosmos, yeah. So we can't just be thinking about little Earth, right? I mean, and
Mm,
when I say this, I'm not saying this tongue in cheek, but it's a Star Trek thing, because we are universal products, man. The
yeah.
DNA that goes to us connects us. We're all connected. And that DNA is a high mathematical equation, bro. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's right.
And we now we're living, where like they say, oh, you're only using 10%, 5% of your brain.
That's
That's
right. Yeah.
because the system doesn't want you using 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's right.
I'm sure there's other worlds in the universe or in the universes where governance is a lot different. Like people govern themselves. You understand? Things like money are seen as savage necessities because how can you buy land and the land is there for everyone? You know what I mean?
There.
We've
Yeah.
just been, we're all victims
Yeah.
of capitalism because
Yeah.
really, when we talk about colonialism and empire building, really it's capitalism. They just says, oh, we're
Mm,
capitalists. But they were capitalists when they were like buying ships and sailing them and you know what I mean? And
mm,
enslaving people, man, buying people, selling people. You
mm.
know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
capitalism, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the whole world is in this situation that it's in because of capitalism.
That's right.
Capitalism, the ancient people, the African people, the Asian people, if they were like gonna chop down a tree, they'll plant two, one or two.
That's right.
All right, because they've taken from the land. They have to give back. They have that relationship with Mother Earth.
Yeah.
But these people don't have that relationship, bro. It's like they come from a different world and they just come for pirated. So capitalism, all these plastics that they're saying, oh God, there's plastic, the whales are full of plastic. Is they're the same people that were manufacturing these and selling them en masse? We're getting our
So,
news off the enemy. We're getting
yeah.
our education off the enemy.
So you got
We're
to
getting our
create,
entertainment off the enemy.
you got to
You know what I'm
research
saying, bro?
and create your own media, independent media.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's the only way.
It
That's the
is.
only way. You know what I
Even
mean?
if you're the artist, the musician, create your own music, do it independently, for example. You don't need these
Of
big
course, bro.
labels, you control, yeah, and you know, that's how people got to think independently, and then
Yeah, yeah. I think
otherwise,
so, bro. I think
and
so, brother.
and and to think on a bigger scale, as a country, as a nation, as the motherland,
Yeah,
seeing the one common cause,
yeah.
eliminate the problem. And not saying they'll get
Well,
better
I
by the
think
day, but you know,
you know what? I'll be honest with you, and I'm not pessimistic, because even if I was a optimistic or pessimistic, I prefer to be a natural mystic. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
exactly.
the reality is, bro. I'm thinking. I look at the way the world is, right? I look at the way Africa is. I look at the mindsets of people, even if they have been miseducated. You know what I mean?
Yes,
There's still you got to be willing to be miseducated to a certain degree, right? I look at it and I say to myself, I don't really see a major consciousness shift in like say the next few decades. I don't. I think things are going to get a lot grimmer, right?
mm,
Things are going to get a lot grimmer all over, right? And I think, well, from our see the way things are set up now, there'll probably be great chalasmatisms. You know what I mean?
mm,
Where the survivors are gonna have to. When you talk about unite, that's where the survivors will have to unite, bro, and
that's
take
right.
it from there.
Yeah,
Yeah, because this world has gone way past the point of no return. And I remember talking to people many, many years ago about how the world was because we were like done our research and we knew that really you can't run the world like it is. The world has to suffer, the world will choke and die. You know what I mean?
nature will play
And
its part. You know.
yeah, well, nature will have to, the planet may be better without the species or without the major amount of people because
Yeah,
everything is being geared and miseducated. You know what I mean? So like you
that's right.
find we're in the rat race and a lot of us are willing rats in the race. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
mm,
Yeah.
that's right, man. But
So when you have that and when you do traveling like you do and you see that desperate people do desperate things and the majority of people in the world are desperate, really, really desperate.
yeah, definitely.
It's happening on these corners now, but it's been
Mm,
with other people, right? Look at that, bro, and you look at the way the generations coming up have been misled, and this
yeah,
whole I can only really see like a Mad Max future, because Hollywood have known been working towards that.
yeah,
Hollywood know the way the world's going. These people that run the world know the world's going. They just want to make as much money and build a bunker. Why do you think these people are building bunkers?
for their
You know
safety.
what I mean, bro?
Yeah,
But if they run to
mm,
the rocks will melt. And if they run to
so,
the sea will be boiling. They don't understand that.
yeah,
Money won't mean nothing then. You
exactly.
know what I mean, bro?
Yeah,
But
but it's
like
right
we
that it
started
is.
off, like we started off when we touched on ancient civilizations
Mm,
and we touched on ancient technology, right?
that's
And
right.
all these things. There must have been great um like we spoke about floods. You mentioned floods, and
Yeah,
floods being something that is worked in the mythology of many, many people around the world. Well, there must have been great disasters
we know the
that took
Sahara is
place.
clean and there's a lot
Uh,
of wetlands, grasslands, and
Sahara was a lake.
yeah, all
Sahara was a
lakes.
lake and
That's
green
right.
belt. A green belt and Great Lakes.
Yeah,
That's a fact. You know what I mean? And then becomes desertified, right? You know, the Mediterranean wasn't there. The Mediterranean, like once upon a time, why do you think there's so much sandstone in England and Europe? Because it was a tropical paradise and there was like sand everywhere. Desert,
mm,
it was even desert in certain parts of Europe because the temperatures were a lot hotter then. You know what I mean, bro?
yeah,
Like, um, and so like skins would have been darker, wouldn't it? It's only skins are only going to lighten when you get to less sunlight. You know what I mean?
that's right.
When you get like in parts of Northern Europe where in winter you're looking at like 4 hours light, 18 hours darkness.
That's right.
There's no
There is.
sunlight. Yeah. You have to
Mm.
acclimatize. You're going to lose your melanin. You're going to lose not great levels of it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, obviously, you see that part of I think it's by Mongolia. It's actually past Mongolia, like the Siberia, them
Yeah.
places, cold,
Yeah.
cold places. Them,
Very cold.
I don't know how them Eskimos or them survive there, but it's
Well, it just
adapting.
shows you the human spirit, doesn't it? It shows you the human
Yeah.
spirit that if you are in tune with nature,
Mm.
right, and you can live, if you have the mind, you can live anywhere and survive.
And adapt.
You understand?
Mm.
But just by having that mind and having that knowledge, right? And the the indigenous people that live in those places,
Yeah.
you know, mathematically they build the igloos or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And they
Well,
keep warm because
yeah.
they know about physics and mathematics because it's physics and math. These people are like doing experiments every day just to survive. Not they're not going to Tesco and getting like uh,
Mm.
vegetables in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
But
It
those people
looks tough.
are diminishing.
Yeah.
Those people are diminishing. So you go
Yeah.
around the world now and you find out all these like, you know, natural tribes, indigenous tribes that were left, they're being minimized by the day. Languages are dying. People are dying. You know, they're getting
That's
cold.
and these a lot
Just
of these
because it's not on the
rainforests.
10 o'clock news, just
Mm,
because it's not on the news at 10, doesn't mean it ain't happening.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And if you look at like most indigenous people, especially the ones who were hunters and gatherers and lived
Mm.
semi-nomadic, a lot of their
Yeah,
forest would have been chopped down. You know, same with the
they
Amazon. How
can't
much?
survive.
Yeah, how much
What
the
they
Amazon
do
being
is, what they
chopped
do
down.
is, what they've done, what they've done is the same way they've endangered animals. They've only endangered animals, but the endangered types of people. They've been
Yeah,
endangering types of people, right? So there's many people that have been, you know,
I've seen
cold,
a lot of the
being
brothers in
cold,
it.
bro, and they're being cold
Yeah,
now, but it's not on the news. Just
yeah.
because it's not on the news, it doesn't mean it ain't happening. Yeah.
Well, I
So
spoke to
we
one
know
of the
that
Maasai chiefs out there, and he was telling me that the land rights, they can't even they can't hunt like they used to. It's restricted areas where they are.
they're just there as a tourist thing now.
Yeah,
Just get your clothes on because the plane's landing.
that's right.
Just get that on. Yeah, that's how it is, bro.
Yeah,
That's what they've reduced it to.
yeah. No, it is ridiculous
You know what I
now.
mean?
Yeah, but it's good for them. Our people though they need to basically visit Africa, and don't just go just only to like try to party. Go there and like see exactly. Go and see different things, meet different peoples, and just see it for yourself rather than through the eyes of the media. I paint the bad picture.
You know, James. You know, like I remember as a youth. You know, like I come from. My grandfather was an African man, a
Okay,
Yoruba man.
you're the
I
bar.
know you're Nigerian too, right? So
Yeah, man.
my grandfather was like a very serious character, but he installed in us before we could walk and talk that were African, right?
That's right.
So I remember telling people when I was about like say 12, 13, like I'm a Rasta, I'm African. People used to laugh at me,
Mm,
right? And I remember like even telling some of my good friends, yeah, I'm going to live in Africa, and they'll say, oh, the lions will eat you, because that's what we thought of Africa. We were
exactly.
thinking
Yeah.
Ron Eli.
Yeah.
It's not like now where you've got all this knowledge in the internet, but a lot of us are being trained to use that, not knowledge, but things that deprave us. And we spend time on the internet doing things that
Yeah.
just deprave us. And you know what I mean,
Mm,
beloved, they just make us like stray away. But those that want to use it as a conscious tool really do so. And the information that was around, say like 50 years ago, right? This revolution of the internet has brought a lot more knowledge to the fore, right? So
yeah.
even if these people aren't traveling, they can still see how certain African towns, villages, cities, coastal areas, mountains, terrain
Yeah.
stays. Yeah, but a lot of them aren't really bothered, bro, because
That's right.
it's like the other things to look at internet. But people like you and me, right, and other people would be on our of interest. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
Bridget? Like most of we're living in a big mind control program, Bridget. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Where basically the roots has been destroyed, James. Because I was
Yeah.
talking to a man the other day, and I said, "Look, we were youths from Liverpool. We used to have sound system, and that we used to travel and see other sounds, and we go to Manchester, Leeds, London, Birmingham, Leicester, Coventry. We go all Boucher, Birmingham, Wolverhampton. We'll go all over. And
Yeah.
whenever we saw other youths, black like us, they used to hail us and would hail them back and would embrace. And
Yeah.
even like you make friends in different cities. And now, in this day and age, right? I don't know what it's like in Liverpool, but like the youths who are in N15, Tottenham, want to stab up the people in the same youths in Wood Green and 22. This is in London.
Oh, yeah.
So we've become enemies.
Mm,
But we like when in my time when I was growing up, Regan, it was beautiful. You didn't even have to go to these places in a posse. You could go there on your own. You know what I mean? Like
change a lot
the
now.
12 tribes. The 12 tribes used to have a headquarters in Manchester. So when we were youth, we used to go up there. You know what I mean?
The 12
And link
tribes.
up on
Yeah.
link up on some Rasta brethren, sister, and blah blah blah. But also you get to know the city, Manchester. It was a headquarters in London. You know what I mean? And people
Yeah.
just embraced you, and the youths embraced you all over the place. Honestly, brethren, you'd be
Mad.
anywhere, and a youth would pass you and nod, and you'd
Mm,
nod back. He'll say, watch your, you all right?" And you say, "Yeah, man."
just respect.
So that respect is gone. So it shows you that like respect and love have been eroded in the global society. It's been eroded, bro.
Yeah. Well, it's always something new, isn't it? You know what I mean? One minute it could be like COVID, or it could be this one or that one. And it's all divide, isn't it? At the end of the day, you know, it's just ridiculous, man. But at the end of the day, it's funny when we look at a question. Say like when you look at like 1 minute the economy could be good, 1 minute the economy could be bad. So us as African descent, it's good to see you that have invested your time in Africa, living out there, raised a family out
Mm.
there, investing into, it's investing into your future, that your children are there also, you know, and
For
it
real,
is,
bro.
it is, you took taking that step a
It's
long
funny,
time ago.
Yeah. No, well, I wanted my youth to be in Africa. Like I grew up being told about Africa, you know what I mean? And that inspired me
Yeah,
and helped me to make certain decisions in life. But for me, youths, I want them to be in Africa. If they want to go to Japan or go to Uncle Sam or Taiwan or Tai2, they
yeah,
can do what they want to do. But as long as they know Africa and they have a living experience of that, you know what I mean, bro?
that's
Because
right.
that's something that I think I owe them, you know what I mean, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
man.
But it's funny, you talked about economy. You talked about economy. And what is economy? I mean, these guys, right? They've stolen all the wealth, right? If you look at what money is one of the biggest hoaxes because it used to be an IOU note, a bank note was like for the amount of gold or whatever, right? All that's gone. It's just like fiat money. It's just fake money. So the economy is a fake system. And what it is, the rich, the elite, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And they're telling you, oh, the Dow Jones is down. Oh, stock, the Bank of England have increased the bank rate. I mean, most people don't even understand what that's all about. They know that they're getting squeezed. If you just says, "Oh, the Bank of England's squeezing your balls," I mean, probably understand it a bit better. You know what I mean? But the economy is a fake thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a man-made conundrum, brethren, right? And it's controlled. It's really a Ponzi scheme. If you know what a Ponzi scheme is or a pyramid scheme, the whole economy is that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And once upon a time you had slaves, right? Where we didn't get paid, we worked long hours, yeah. We had somewhere to sleep, even if it was a hovel or like an animal thing, and we were given the bare necessities to eat. Now, right, we're given somewhere to live and a job to pay for where we live
Yeah.
and pay big light bill and pay big food bill. And so basically it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, chattel slavery couldn't be compared with it, but I'm just saying, really, when you've got chains on yourself and you're being whipped,
Yeah.
you're in bondage. But when you're in a 9 till 5, when you're in a 9 till 5 somewhere, you know what I mean, bro?
Yeah.
You might, and you think you're on 50 grand a year, and you think you're someone. It's all bondage, brethren. That's all it is.
What's
It's a
out
hoax.
in out in Rwanda? What would you say the bills are like
Mm.
there? Like electricity, gas, reasonable prices?
Well, no, well, you see, these things, right? You have people that control things, bro, in a
Yeah.
business sense. And
Yeah.
the people that are in the business sense, most of them aren't really into helping people. They're into helping themselves. Because so you'll find that you have a place like Africa, right?
Yeah.
Now, Africa, all that sunshine in Africa, right? All
Mm.
that sunshine. You have all these NGOs over Africa saying they're there to help Africans, wasting the money on big wages for
Mm.
themselves, right?
Yeah.
And useless intervention, right? And imagine if these African governments weren't so puppified, right? And they could use solar energy more. Because you have the sun there.
Yeah.
And look at Africa, look at the land in Africa. Like
Mm.
farming, farming in Africa is nowhere near what it should be, right? Farming, bro, right? You have like local farmers who don't really have even the right tools, the right training, right? And they're
Mm.
doomed to fail. And they only have little plots of land anyway because of big companies control large parts of the land. You know what I mean?
And wouldn't
But
you train them up? Yeah.
farming is probably the first occupation of man and woman.
Yeah.
Man and womankind being civilized. Probably farming because you said hunter gatherers, yeah.
Yeah.
So at one point now, a man said, you know what, me not really hunt and gather because it's better me just have these seeds and me just sow these seeds and look after them seeds and make them grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then he didn't have to hunt and gather as much, you see, and that farming. So Africa, you look at Africa, right? I'm living in Africa, and all of a sudden, all the prices went up. Now, a lot of this is down to the fact of the media, because every day the media is saying cost of living crisis, cost of living. I mean, that the hoodwinking us all to walk into it, right? So all these prices went up for gas, for food, even in Africa, And when we spoke to these people, they said, "Oh, because of the war in Ukraine." And I said, "Listen, Ukraine has some very good systematic farming going on. We know that." And we know that Africa was underdeveloped and has been underdeveloped and is being underdeveloped. Walter Rodney taught us that, right? But Africa, right, still is the breadbasket for the world because many foods are grown in Africa and taken out
Mm.
into a different market. Yeah, many foods, and a lot of food goes to waste because even in the marketplaces, right, where you buy market food, it's a lot cheaper. Like if you buy imported food in a lot of African countries, it costs a lot of money because it's imported. These people think it's from Britain, oh, it's from France. Like it's packaged nice, but the best food is in the marketplace, and that's going to be cheaper. But the average people, the average African is probably might be a little bit better than Rwanda, but maybe no more than like a few dollars a day. Some
Well,
it could be $1, some it could be five. You understand what I'm saying, bro?
yeah,
So a lot of that food they can't even afford to buy. It's not like it's a food crisis.
yeah.
I mean, you create a food. How do you create a food crisis? You create a food crisis by making the food less affordable, and that's why it becomes a crisis. The food. It's not like
No,
there's no food there.
yeah,
The
yeah.
food's there, Judd.
Exactly. Plenty of
So
it.
it's just hocus pocus. It's just hocus pocus, brother.
Yeah.
Lots political screens and mirrors. Lies, and you know what I mean. And so, like a lot of these people in Rwanda, Kenya, all over Africa, right? When this war was going on, because the media are doing that, they started saying, "Oh, the gas is up," and started putting the price of the gas up.
Mm.
You understand? So
And
this
also
is
the
the
fuel had gone
media.
up as well in Africa.
You can see
Mm.
how the media is used as a weapon. It's a weapon, a weaponized media that can do anything they want within a week, within 7 days. They can bring change because it's not like when I was a kid growing up. It was like a few news bulletins through the day, news at 1, news at 5:45, 6 o'clock news BBC, 9 o'clock news BBC,
Poison, man.
ITN 10 o'clock news. That was
Yeah.
it. If something spectacular happened, you'd have a news flash, and it really was a flash. They'll just like and make an announcement and say blah blah has happened. There's been 100 casualties. 10 people are confirmed dead. More about this at the 10 o'clock news. Now you've got 24-hour news channels, Brethren. Not just one neither. You've got enough all over the place, beamed all over the world. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the Ukrainian war, they made it into a business opportunity and also to bring about a hike in prices all over the world at the same time.
I noticed
Now,
the fuel
Ukraine
was
does
quite
produce
high
a lot of
in
food,
South Africa. Yeah.
The Ukraine does produce a lot of food. But
Yeah.
that's only because they've underdeveloped other markets and overdeveloped others. That's all. Still the
Right.
same. It's not like Ukraine's got better fertile land. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's always any excuse, man, when it comes to the money, isn't it? And
Always, Brendan,
it's just
always.
and then soon, it won't even it'll be a cashless society. So that's where it's going. But
Well, I'll be honest with you, bro. Listen, we know all these things are getting digitalized for a reason,
yeah,
right? Hard to move, hard to live, and all that. But for many, it's always been a cashless society because as soon as that little cash come in, it's got to go out. So
exactly.
when you think about it, you know what I mean? We've
Yeah,
always had, because the majority of the people have always had money issues. You know what
that's
I
right.
mean, bro? And
Yeah,
that's it.
and it don't circulate.
Money issues.
Our money don't
That's
circulate
what I'm
within
saying,
our
bro.
community. We just spend with everyone else. For everyone else, like different people coming in from wherever they are,
It
it's
doesn't circulate, and the
an
only
opportunity for
it,
them.
it's funny you say that, right? It's funny, brother. It's funny you say that, right? Because if you think about it, the only way you can build an economy is if money, right, is moving around everyone.
Yeah,
People are buying, people are selling, people are buying, people are selling. But really, if only a minority control all the companies or the production, right? Then really the economy isn't a thing that's going to really thrive. It's just a disposable economy, isn't it?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's right, that
And
man.
to make out like the economy is more important than the sun shining or the rain falling is utter codswallop. You know what I mean, bro? When you watch
Yeah.
the news telling you about all these things, it doesn't mean anything, bro.
Uh,
The Bank of England are the biggest pirates and thieves anyway. You know what I mean? So when the
yeah.
new when who give them the authority over the money? You know what I mean, bro?
You know what I mean?
Bunch of thieves.
But Africa needs to rise up as well, and of course, it's puppets everywhere. But like, it's just like there's
No, but
no
they've created, James. They've created such a sophisticated system. What it is, you've got like Africa's been colonized many times, right? So you've got all these like outside religions in there being promoted. You've got their way of life, and a lot of their religions is the source of these outside religions being pushed on them. You know what
yeah.
I mean? So
It's like
they've
when
been
you've been in South Africa, you were saying, isn't it? About you know, like the way they divide, where they got the colours and then say blacks, and then just like yeah,
divide
and
and
then
rule, bro.
yeah, yeah. It's mad.
Divide and rule.
And like they just, like I say to them, whether they put you at bottom, him top, we're all the same. And then you look at who's pulling the strings, who's running the show, basically. That's the bigger picture. What people need
Divide
to
and rule.
understand. It is.
Mm.
No, but it's all good though, because you know what? I believe in cycles, positive cycles that you can't be stopped. This when nature is connected to the whole cosmos, the universe, it's all aligned.
It's time in it. It's like put it this way, right? We're living in the world. Many people are on a downer, but you can't be on a downer because if people can still laugh and people can still have time to discover new things, great things that can, what I mean,
Yeah,
inculcate great awakenings, rude awakenings within themselves. It's still a beautiful world.
that's
But
right. That.